Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Bartlett.
And I'm Kristine Strauss, and this is The Real Deal with Baird and Warner, where we cover all things real estate.
For buyers, sellers, renters, investors, and fellow agents. Before we introduce our guest today and get into our topic, let's take a quick look at this weekend's market activity, and remember to stay tuned till the end of the episode to see what's going on in the wonderful world of mortgage. So on the listing side, listings held steady a couple weeks in a row. We're kind of holding at that same level. Obviously, we'd like to see that number go up, but as long as it's not going down, that is a good thing.
Absolutely. Yep, we always want to look for that. And then on the buy side, the buyers were back out again this weekend. So we saw that number take a nice spike up. I think the highest that we've seen probably in the last month or so. So great job on those buyers getting out there searching for that inventory. Today, we are so excited to welcome Andrew Fox here with us on our podcast. He is just an expert in the home inspection field. So not only an inspector, but the president of the Brickkicker Inspection Services. So Andrew, we just want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, it's my pleasure. I'm excited.
Absolutely. This is going to be a fantastic episode because Andrew not only has all of the experience, but I am sure you have seen all there is to see.
Good, bad, and ugly.
Exactly, right? With everything home inspection related. So
absolutely.
Before we dive into maybe, the home inspection specific pieces, Andrew, do you want to share with us maybe how you kind of got into this industry, and just give us a little background about that?
Yeah, of course. It's an industry that most people don't think about, especially when you're coming out of high school, going into college. You don't really think about home inspections. But that's okay. We're kind of a hidden niche, and I fell into this, it's about 10 years now. 10 years ago now, I was in grad school, University of Florida, studying architecture, and I realized that architects don't make a lot of money unless you're putting up Willis Tower and massive buildings like that. And you're stuck behind a desk 80 plus hours a week, and that's just not my nature to sit behind a desk.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was in the hospitality business helping hotels transition from one company to another down in Orlando, and I realized I loved helping people.
Yeah.
How do you love helping people but don't want to be stuck behind a desk? You love buildings, but you don't want to be away from it all.
Right.
So I started reading. I was reading Inc. magazine one day, and lo and behold, I saw 2 pages on home inspections.
Yeah.
And there was the top 10 companies that are offering home inspection franchises. Mm-hmm. And so I started going down that list just to get more information. Brickkicker was the third on my list, and I made a meeting with the owner of the company, Ron Ewald at the time, and he said, you know what, I don't need a franchise in Chicago, because that's where we were intending on moving up to Chicago from Orlando, and I don't need a franchise in Chicago because we're based here. So I said, okay, well, how else could I get my feet wet? So he said, well, I'm not a spring chicken. I'm looking for an exit strategy eventually. And I said, well, sign me up.
Okay. There you go.
So I that opened my ears instantly, and I took a demotion in Marriott hotels to work overnight so I can learn this craft during the day. Yeah. And I just never said no. I said, I need to learn it. I need to learn it fast, and I need to know the players.
Right.
You guys, the agents, right? So. That's when I started getting into it and never looked back. And as the years went on, Ron's conversation started getting more serious about retirement, and I just had the vision going forward. And that's kind of how I got into it, and I've never looked back. It's the best decision I've ever made. And
that's awesome.
I love every second of it.
What a cool story.
What a cool story is right. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So I'm grateful. I'm not the oldest guy in the company anymore. I'm one of the younger guys, but it's all about energy. It's about helping people and building those relationships. And I think that's what really drew me to real estate is that it's all about relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not just a transaction and done, although sometimes we see that out there, but it's all about these relationships, and that's why I'm here today, is because we built a relationship.
Very true. Absolutely. Great relationship. I personally love working with the Brickkicker, so very excited to have you here.
Nothing but positive experiences for me as well.
Yes.
Good.
So tell us a little bit about the home inspection. What's kind of involved? What is the purpose? And what kinds of things are you guys looking for?
Yeah, great question. And let's just start out by saying that we are experts in a lot of things, but we're not a specific expert in any one thing. Case in point, each municipality and each state has jurisdiction over licensing and professionals. So in the state of Illinois, Plumbers fall under a union and have to have their own license. Electricians the same. HVAC contractors the same. So a home inspection is there to help any prospective buyer or seller get an understanding of what they are about to be exposed to during that real estate transaction.
Got it, right.
So your clients, most cases the buyers going in, they want to know what they're buying, right?
Right, yeah.
And there could be a whole can of worms, and you've probably all heard the horror stories out there of buying and then, mold or pest or, So our job is to go from the outside to the inside, top to bottom, and pick the house apart.
Sure.
There's over 250,000 components in your standard count.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it sure is. And so back to the original point of HVAC and electricians and plumbers, we're there looking at all those components, whereas an electrician's looking at electrical. A plumber's looking at the piping, and HVAC's looking at the heating and cooling.
Sure.
So we will never, ever be able to see every single thing in a house.
Right.
But we're there on behalf of our client to go from top to bottom and see what we can find that could be a potential health and safety concern for their family.
Exactly.
Not everything is going to be the same concern for everybody.
Sure.
So we have to be objective, and we kind of have to be middle of the road with how we're describing things, right? We're telling you what we see. We cannot tell you what to do with it. We can make recommendations.
Right.
But we rely on our real estate partners to kind of help guide that client through that process. So back to the original question, inside, outside, top to bottom, ultimately finding out all the major components of the home, which is structure, electrical, plumbing, and HVAC.
Okay.
So we're diving into all those components, and then in the end, we put all our pictures, our notes together, and issue a nice detailed report, and hopefully that helps your clients make an informed decision.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that's such a good point too. Of you're talking about the findings, right? You're not there to give your opinion on it, which I have personally found is a great experience with your company. It's not that alarmist type of attitude.
Sure.
So really great information to know there.
Yeah, we want to know what concerns your clients have.
Right.
So our guys and gals that are doing inspections, upon arriving, one of the first things they typically like to do is say, hey, concerns do you have about this house?
Right,
You just fell in love with this house a few days ago. So you're probably unsure what to ask or be concerned about, but if you have a question, let us know, and let's make sure we
I love
find
that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
A great point. So I know, Andrew, you kind of mentioned things, you cover a lot of the general pieces, not necessarily certain things that you may see or not see. So to clear up any misconceptions that not only buyers, sellers, but agents may have too, do you want to give us a little insight as to things that maybe are not covered under a home inspection, so it really can help set that expectation?
Yeah, great question. And I'll go, the first one that comes to my mind, because I just got hit with this morning, was well and septic.
Got it, yeah.
Well and septic, the closer you get to the city, obviously that's less of a concern, but well and septic is a thing, and our experience is 9 times out of 10, the seller is addressing the well and septic inspection or test.
Right, okay.
They're typically like utilities, right? You go into a house here in Naperville, we're not operating the water valve, we're simply saying this is the city water meter.
Sure.
The city's getting their number from here, we're making sure there's no leaks around it, but that's about it. A well, same thing, same kind of concept, we're kind of looking at the components of a well and septic, but we're not determining how deep the well is, what the capacity of the septic tank is, if the leach field has issues. That's where the professionals need to come in.
Got it.
Same thing with low voltage audiovisual. Everyone's got technology in their house.
Right,
We're not there to operate all that technology. The latest home theater in the basement, we're not there to operate that because everyone's got 100 different ways to set things up.
Yeah, very true.
And quite honestly, I've had a few phone calls with upset homeowners that they come home and they expect to find something missing or out of place, and lo and behold, they call us and say, my sound isn't working or my lights won't dim, what happened? That's just not that's not in our scope. And we make sure our clients understand that if those things are present, talk to your real estate professional, talk to the homeowner, and most likely they'll give you a guide.
Exactly.
And everything can be YouTube nowadays. Anyways,
Right.
Yeah.
So low voltage, well and septic, alarm systems, and things that we can't see. I'm not going behind the curtain and pulling it behind if it's fixed to the wall.
Right.
Obviously, I'm going to ask the homeowner, the agent, or the client to help me see some things that we couldn't normally do, but I'm not going to be able to punch a hole in the wall and see if there's mold behind it, right?
That's fair.
We got tools, we've got thermal imaging cameras, we've got moisture meters, we've got the knowledge and the skill set to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, right? And so if there's something that comes up that we typically won't look, we want to know about it because we might be able to guide and offer a resource. Say, hey, that's not our cup of tea, but we can get the right person in here to look at it for you. Things like engineering is a big item, right? You go into a basement, foundation walls might have cracks. We can call out what we see, but then we'll guide you and say, you know what, that crack is really not a structural concern, it's more of a moisture concern. Let's get a waterproofing company in.
Got it. Okay.
No, that is a horizontal crack. He might have some movement. Let's get a structural engineer in here.
Got it. Okay.
So that's where we kind of have to draw the line and say, you know what, this is beyond our scope, but we have the resources to guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's great. So you're not ever leaving anybody hanging saying, we don't cover that, good luck.
Adios,
Right.
Yeah, right. You're at least pointing them in the right direction.
We don't cover it or we can't look at it, but let's get someone that can. And here's why. That's the important explanation. Sometimes we do get that occasional phone call. Well, I hired you to do the inspection, and then you're telling me to get 3 or 4 other professionals in here.
Right.
Yeah, but if you had not had that inspection, you wouldn't have known to get those 3 others in there to fix those issues.
Exactly.
So every scenario is different, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
So, no two transactions are the same.
Right.
Yep,
Very true.
we see that on our end as well.
So yeah, things that we don't look at, those are the big ones. Well and septic, low voltage, personal items that are not staying in the home, things like that. But if it's a fix to the house, we're going to try to get our hands on it and look at it.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
So when a buyer or seller is looking to get an inspection done, kind of tell me about the process. How does that work just in terms of scheduling and then what happens when you get there and when does the report come and all that kind of thing?
Yeah. So up until recent years, home inspections have been a thing for buyers.
Right.
And they still are, very much so. 90% of our transactions are for buyers. But the last couple of years, we're starting to see more inspections take place for home sellers.
Sure, yeah.
They're in the house and they've been there for a long period of time, they're comfortable. And then they get complacent, they don't know what to look for anymore. So selling transactions are becoming more popular, but the whole process starts with the client, whether that be a buyer or seller, understanding that they want a home inspection. And most people, they don't think about that until the realtor gets involved.
Right.
The realtor is the one that says you might want to have a home inspection done. It's very hard for us as home inspectors to get in front of the homeowner unless we are out doing guerrilla marketing and soliciting that. So we rely heavily on you as realtors, and then most likely the client's going to do their research online.
Right.
You're going to give them a few names of home inspection companies you work with, so you're not biased. We're happy to be one of those 3, but then they go out and do their research. Once they've made that decision, yes, I want to call, they're going to either call the Brickkicker, they can go online, brickkicker.com, or they can chat with us, and they'll speak to someone in our office.
Okay.
An office team that will answer the phone 7 days a week, essentially 24/7. If we don't answer, we'll call you right back. That booking process, is anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes for getting some information about the property that you want inspected. And then we set up a time that's convenient for you to get out there.
Right.
2 hours after that's booked, the client and the agent involved will get a confirmation email letting them know that we're all set. That's the time when we can make sure that we have access to the home. We send out a checklist to the listing agent to let them know that a home inspection is about to take place.
Right.
Here's what you should do to prepare the house for an inspection. And then the inspection takes place. We go through the motions of the inspection. An inspection could be anywhere from an hour and a half to 3.5 hours.
Yeah, very true.
Depends on the size of the house. Not all home inspectors are created equal, just like your doctor.
Right.
So it could be an hour inspection, it could be a 2-hour inspection. You're still getting the same process. It just really depends on what we're walking into.
Right.
Once that's all said and done, we generate a report. Oftentimes our guys are doing it as they go on their mobile device. So they're not playing games while they're doing their inspection, they're actually doing your report.
Right.
And then same day we like to get that report out in your hands.
That's awesome.
Same day. Worst case scenario by the time you have coffee in the morning the next day, but we know time is important, and so we want to get it out same day. After the report's issued, then the client will have our contact information, sit with the realtor and kind of look at the report and say, okay, what are the important items? Is there anything to negotiate? Is there anything that we want fixed or addressed?
Right.
Should we ask the home inspector follow-up questions? And then that's typically when we see it, our relationship at that point kind of pause for a while.
Sure.
Sometimes they come back because they found something in the inspection they didn't like, and they'll move on to another transaction. And we get that second follow-up call.
Right.
A lot of times they move into the house, we're tickled pink, and they say, you know what, you did my inspection 3 years ago, I'm thinking about selling again. You recommended this then, what would you recommend now?
Right.
And that's where we can kind of keep our pulse on the client.
Exactly.
So that's the process kind of in a nutshell. But we tell our clients we want to be your friend for life.
Right.
So when you sell your house in the future, have us come back through and make sure that you're not going to get scared or red flagged from a buyer's inspection.
Right.
If you're making upgrades, let us guide you, because you might want to make an upgrade to your kitchen, but that might not be kosher in said municipality.
Sure, yeah.
That's a good
So
point.
we want to make sure that we're getting you in the right resource and the guide, so you don't waste a lot of unnecessary dollars.
Right.
Right.
That is such a good point. Yeah, really. I like seeing kind of that flip side there too, because a lot of times it is very buyer heavy. So to see on the seller side, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So kind of final question here. So we talked a lot about home inspection specific things. Now, are there any other services that the Brickkicker provides kind of outside of that, or even in addition to that are helpful to share?
Yeah, it's a lot of agents don't know that we do more than just a home inspection.
Right.
We do inspection services, so that's residential inspections. That could be condos and townhomes. That could be 4 units or less. It could be a mobile home. It could be a 12,000 square foot mansion. You name it. It could be a dog house if the client wants. It could be anything that they want inspected. But we also do commercial. Commercial is huge for us right now. Nationwide, we do commercial. Whether it's an office space like this, it's a hospital, it's a church, it's a school. But complementing the traditional home inspection would be a radon test.
Okay.
So we do radon testing, separate technicians, separate license.
Sure.
But it isn't in our company. We do pest inspections. Illinois requires a separate licensure for pest inspections. We do mold swabbing. So if we're there at the inspection and we see what looks like a suspect material, we'll swab
Mold-like
it.
substance.
Yes, we can never say it's mold because we're not the lab. Most people understand, quit kidding me, it's mold, just tell me it's mold. So we swab it, you can send it to a lab, because again, in the negotiation phase, you don't want to come back and say, I don't want this house because there's mold.
Right.
The seller is going to want to say, well, are you allergic to this mold?
Sure.
Well, you have to take the specimen, find out from your doctor if you're allergic, because mold could be a whole podcast in itself. So
Yeah, right.
But we do the swabbing on site. The whole goal is to try to minimize 10, 15 different trips back to the house for your client.
Exactly.
We're there, we can swab it, we can move on.
Sure.
And then so the newest service that's really been going gangbusters for us is sewer scoping. Camera inspections.
Great.
Because the traditional home inspection, we're running the water to see if there's backups, gurgling, pressure issues. But once the water leaves the house, we don't know what's going on between the house and its final destination. So whether it's a city line or a septic field, we can put a camera in the line and run it down there. That comes at a separate cost, of course, but that can be done. And we're finding that a house typically 30 years or older has issues with their sewer lines. Big trees, roots are getting in, maybe someone did an addition and their excavation equipment ran over the line. So sewer scoping is another service.
Is that something that they could do on the spot, or is that something they'd set up for a later visit?
So they could either order it ahead of time. So if they knew ahead of time that I might want the sewer line, and for you as realtors, we'd say, if you're getting ready to show a house that's 30 years or older, bear in mind that you might have sewer issues.
Got it.
Lines could be collapsed, there could be tree root issues, all sorts of things. So it's that 30-year mark that throws a flag up. Hey, you might want to consider right now it's $250 for us to put a camera in the line.
Okay. Yeah.
For 15 minutes of time, you'll be able to tell if there's an issue. To dig up those sewer lines, that's $10,000, $15,000, $20,000.
Yeah.
So the best case on that is just a rotting would need to be done. A device gets in and just breaks those roots up. That's very minimal. But if you didn't have that camera scope done, you wouldn't know it. So it could be booked ahead of time. It could also be booked on site. So our guys are there. Not all of our guys carry the cameras right now. We have 2 guys that do. So we'll make the turnaround as quickly as possible for you if we're not there on site to do it.
Right.
Got it. Good to know.
But all services all comes down to just an understanding of the buildings that you're in. Like I said before, if someone wants their doghouse inspected, be happy to do that. And I had that call last year. We had someone wanting their heated outdoor doghouse here in Naperville, of course.
There you go.
To be inspected. So, nonetheless, we can. You name it. You want it inspected, we can do it. Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, that's so great to know. That just wonderful information.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. This was super helpful. I think it's going to be helpful for not only our non-agent viewers, but agent viewers. I mean, I learned a lot just from listening to you. So
yeah, and this is short order sitting here doing this. So if anyone wants to talk more about inspections, or if they want to get granular on a particular topic, we have Brickkicker University. We have a gentleman, Rob Klaus, he's been on our staff from the very beginning. He's a walking encyclopedia, and he's our head of technical and education. And so any topic that anyone has a question on, we can get with Rob and we can put a whole course together, whether it's talking about HVAC, appliances, sewage, you name it, we can talk about it all.
Yeah.
The resources are available to you and your clients. Brickkicker.com, brickkickercommercial.com, or simply by just giving us a call.
Awesome. Anywhere on social media we can find you, and I know you got a podcast going yourself.
Yeah, we got a podcast studio in our basement, so we're working through the kinks of this new technology. But we have a YouTube channel. We have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're setting up an account on Parler and Getter because there's just so many out there nowadays.
Yep.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just our franchises kind of come at us and say, there's too much out there. Why can't you just be simple? But as you're sitting here, your audience is saying, hey, I'm not always on YouTube. I might be on this. I'm not always on Facebook. I might be doing that. So we have to cater to all audiences.
Yep.
So that's why I'm excited to be here with you and using this technology to reach new audiences.
Right.
So happy you came.
Yes, thank you so much, Andrew. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks. And now a word from Kristine Kavoris with Key Mortgage with our weekly Mortgage Minute.
Hi, this is Kristine Kavoris with Key Mortgage. Welcome to today's Mortgage Minute. Today I'd like to talk about PMI and what that means. PMI is private mortgage insurance, and it allows a home buyer to purchase a home with less than 20% down. PMI has a really bad connotation with a lot of people, and they think that it's just a waste of money. But honestly, it could be a great financial tool for many people. For a lot of home buyers, they might want to put down 5%, even if they are able to put down more, because the PMI cost with a very high credit score could be significantly lower than one might think. I have seen people put down 5% and then watch their home appreciate in value over 5 years as they pay down their mortgage, and then the PMI goes away and they were able to retain the other 15% instead of putting it down on their house in an investment account to continue growing. Sometimes that could be a great financial move for a really savvy investor. Please give me a call if you'd like to learn more about PMI and whether it makes sense for you.
We really enjoyed having Andrew Fox from the Brickkicker on with us today to talk about all the ins and outs of the home inspection process. So hopefully you found some really great information from that too to take with you, either for your clients if you're an agent or if you are a potential buyer or seller yourself. Hopefully there was some really valuable
Oh, absolutely. I think there was a little something for everybody in there. Learned a lot.
Right.
Thanks again for joining us. I'm Kevin Bartlett.
And I'm Christine Strauss. Catch us next time to hear about
The Real Deal.